My name is Nick Waite. I was and starting to transition back into being a professional cyclist. I grew up as a bike racer kid up in West Virginia. And let's see, gosh, I guess that's kind of the bulk of the story, really. Like I started racing like these, mountain bike races up in Davis when I was like, seriously, I guess starting around 12. And from there, I skipped out in a couple years of high school and traveled with the U.S. national cycling team, and was a junior and an under 23 racer for them, and spent a lot of time traveling in Europe. And actually, that's the reason I came to Harrisonburg in the first place, because I had a training partner down here, Jeremiah Bishop. He's a local cyclist guy, local pro in town. So we've been training partners for a long time, and I started coming down here to train with him. So ultimately, when I decided to settle somewhere that wasn't home, I chose this place for the training and the bike scene and all that. So that's the basics of the ramp up, I guess. So pro-tested gear started in a bedroom, basically. I had another professional cyclist roommate of mine. We both started it. His name's Jeff Schock. He's now retired and kind of out of the picture. So it started because as professional athletes, especially aspiring ones, there's not much money involved with racing unless, sporadic prize money here and there. But as far as being paid to do it, it's pretty slim. So what a lot of teams will do, they'll make up for it in product, sponsorship, bikes and gear and stuff like that they'll toss you, in lieu of a paycheck. Mm-hmm. And so we'd end up with a ton of this stuff, and at the end of the year, it's we need to make rent or whatever. So we sold it on eBay, and we had other friends that were in the same situation, and we started selling it for other bike racing colleagues of ours, and then eventually it kind of morphed into selling for professional teams, and just because I was in the scene for long enough, I kind of cashed a bunch of connections in the individual pro racer world, plus teams and management and industry folks. So. And anyway, so now it's kind of blossomed into this, which is cool. This is the third or fourth place it's been. It originally started in Harrisonburg, and I took a brief hiatus with my career and moved to Brooklyn and was a bike messenger for a while. So I actually did bring this project with me there. There's been different incarnations of it, kind of through the whole process. So. And then eventually came back here when I decided to move back to Harrisonburg, and that's when it started to kind of be a little more official, and we had our first office, and this is our first fully functional, great comfortable setup. So yeah. It's mainly still in bike racing, running a little bit of snow sport. But yeah, it's still in the sports arena. We try to keep it on the high end of things because it's fun to work with and, yields a decent return so we can keep the operation going. It comes through the door. Sometimes it comes through rapidly and you're just it becomes very satisfying to see it go away again. Mainly all over the country because, as a bike racer, it was a very national and international project. So made tons of, my teammates on any given team I've been on over the years it wasn't we were all from Virginia. Yeah. It was we were from California, Colorado, Maine, New York and Virginia and everywhere. So, that's basically how it still is with getting the product is it's coming from all over the place, all these connections, and we're all super pros when it comes to listing it properly so it's found quickly and, goes for the top dollar. It's, usually, it depends on how you usually sell through anything that's on within 2 rounds, which is they're both a week-long auction. If it doesn't move in those 2 rounds, if we've set it at a higher price for whatever reason, then, you just do a little price adjusting. Historically, it's been, and especially over the last 15 years or something, it's known as kind of a mountain bike mecca and mountain bike centric scene. And I grew up in that and, was a racer and still, hang out with all these people. But one thing that I've noticed over the last couple years is that Harrisonburg's, I don't know, it's kind of morphing into like a more like balanced, eclectic cycling scene where you've got all these commuters that have nothing to do with riding mountain bikes, have no desire. They're like, they're not into going into the mountains or whatever. They're doing it because, it's like they just want to be commuters and they want to go to the co-op and, all this stuff. And then, there's the mountain bike scene, of course, that, most of the guys that started it went to JMU and like the SBC, like that is like the core of the I would say core of the scene really, because they've just put huge efforts into like the as far as like the relationship with the city and like getting bike paths and a lot of the activism stuff. But one of the roles that I see us playing in like this new kind of like expanding bike culture in the city is that we I think we do represent pretty heavily the racing part of the scene, because it's there are a lot. We've got 3 or 4 professional cyclists in this town, like 2 or 3 of which are like full time, like that's what they do, and it tends to be like the mountain bike scene tends to be very like they all race, and we've got like some really cool underground events and stuff, but it's still very much like mountain bike centric, and like you're not going to witness a lot of what's going on unless you're like out there every weekend with the pretty tight group of folks. Kind of helping develop is really like more of like the urban, so we're bike racers, we're commuters. Like I had a pretty significant period of my life, or not period, like time-wise, but like development period was like when I went to New York and when I was a bike messenger. Like that was like where I kind of like I was like, whoa, like this is totally different than what I had grown up in, which was like the I was just a bike racer, and like I rode my bike because I had to or whatever. There it was like that's where I really started to like see like the culture of like, and New York is a really wild place for like the commuting and just the urban side of cycling. So when I came back here, I started to notice like how it's been transforming more from just like everyone carpools out to the mountains to ride mountain bikes to like we see tons of like kids riding fixed gears, and we've got some friends that are about to promote an Alley Cat race. There was even a courier company that was like sprouting for a few months over the summer. I have no idea what's going on with that now. I think it's not happening so much, but that was really cool to just see that there was focus on that. So I guess I see our role as like helping the kind of like the more urban urban like cycling culture in town that's not just I guess what it was, which was just heavily mountain bike really. So now I'm starting to race more, but it's more for myself and like promotion of the business, and I'm enjoying it a lot more now. So I like the direction that Harrisonburg's heading in as far as bike culture. It's good. I feel like and things just need to be kind of torn apart, and people need to get upset for anything to improve anyway. So it's I think it's good. This started out as a very DIY project, and it's still there. Like we're we do most everything you see is all in-house. Everything's in-house. We're going to keep expanding and learning how business works, essentially. I would say that even like our employees, like, it's like we are all entrepreneurs. Like, Danny's got projects in mind for the spring that have to do with the bike scene. And of course, Phoebe and I, like, this is our like baby, so this is like our big project.